What's up guys? So for this video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on my newest member, the MacBook Air. Now before deciding to go with the 11-inch, I was completely torn between the 13 and obviously the 11-inch. And after debating and going to the Apple Store, going to Best Buy and comparing both of them side by side, comparing every last aspect of the computers, I decided to go with the 11-inch. Now, looking at my track record of laptops, I've owned two other laptops, a 15-inch Toshiba from 2003, a MacBook Pro 13-inch from 2008, and from my experience from owning a laptop, if the laptop is too heavy, if the laptop is too bulky, what ends up happening, I will simply use the laptop as a desktop, and I needed a laptop to be a laptop. So this is why I decided, you know what, I need to go with something that's super light and super nimble. And obviously the performance is there. So I decided to jump on the MacBook Air 11-inch. And ever since I bought this computer, this has been the best laptop I have ever used. This is the first time that I literally use a laptop as a laptop. This laptop is literally in my backpack every single day. I've been using it for a month and a half. Even the charger is extra light. Everything about this laptop is just super tiny. I mean, looking in comparison to my Nexus 4, it's just tiny, and the performance is there. This computer can actually perform almost as similar to my Mac Mini. The only difference is that it only has 4 gigs of RAM, whereas my Mac Mini has 16, so it has more room to breathe. But this computer could technically do some video editing. If you were to use iMovie, since it's a 32-bit application, it will definitely be able to do some editing, but I don't need it for editing. I need it for the basic tasks and for listening to music and doing homework and doing the occasional programming here and there. So this computer fit the bill perfectly. One of my other concerns was that the screen might be too small, and it was a little too small. I felt a little cramped at first, but once you really start getting used to using full screen apps, it's not really that big of a deal. You could just use full screen apps and swipe between the full screen apps, and the screen doesn't feel that small anymore. It feels perfect. And the 16:9 aspect ratio is perfect for video watching. It just submerges you into watching your content, and it's just perfect. Like I can easily make the case that the 11-inch is a way better laptop than the 13-inch. It's just so much lighter, so much better. The battery life might not be as good as the 13-inch, but think about it this way. The computer is going to be less than half a pound lighter, not including the charger, because the charger of the 13-inch is actually bigger, but the performance is literally going to be the same. And obviously the MacBook Airs come with SSDs. And for those who are curious, this is actually a 2011 model. I did not buy one of the new ones. I got this computer off eBay for $650 in pristine condition, so I'm pretty happy with my purchase. Obviously this computer is my secondary computer, and it fits perfectly with my workflow. And since I've bought my computer, this MacBook Air, this is the computer that I've been using exclusively for the past month and a half, and I haven't really been using my Mac Mini. And the only time I find myself climbing on board on my Mac Mini is basically for video editing, and for everything else I just find myself just grabbing the MacBook Air and just going with that. So now the question is, can someone who's thinking about getting the 11-inch or the 13-inch as their primary computer, which one should they get? If they're not going to be doing any video editing, if that's completely out of the question, then I would recommend the 11-inch. And try to get as much memory as you can, because even though like my Mac Mini and my MacBook Air have similar processors, the big difference between them is the RAM. My Mac Mini has 16 gigs of RAM, and that's beautiful for video editing. The MacBook Air can render videos. It has no problem doing that. The only problem is it doesn't have enough RAM to be able to store the files as you're editing them. So what ends up happening, you run out of memory, and then the system will bottleneck and it'll start slowing down. I like to keep my system synchronized. I have the same wallpaper on all my 3 devices and basically the same applications between them. I mean, the only difference between my MacBook Air and my Mac Mini is that one of them is running Final Cut Pro and the other one isn't. That's it. Literally, that's it. Everything else I can do on both systems. But for the most part, I tend to turn to my MacBook Air for everything else that's not video editing. Thank you guys for watching this entire video. Hopefully this video was helpful in some way, and hopefully it makes a decision a little easier on buying an 11-inch versus the 13-inch, or vice versa, whatever the case might be. If you guys found this video to be helpful, give it a thumbs up, and I will definitely see you guys later.